Well, welcome everybody. We are so excited to have Giulio with us today. And normally I would go through and introduce him. However, he has done so much from writing books to being a public speaker. He's been in the industry. I'll let him tell you how long. He's been to Harvard Business School. He's just literally done so much. So, Giulio, I'd love for you to take a couple minutes and kind of take us through your journey in the industry, what you've done outside of the industry, because your awards, your achievements, I mean, it's just, you truly are just phenomenal. So welcome.
Thank you very much. And thanks for having me today on your new level salon leadership program. I'm excited and thrilled to share anything with you. I'm also very humble. It's like, yeah, you have all these accolades, but you don't do them to have the accolades. You do it because it comes from the heart. And I've been fortunate enough to be in this industry for over 40 years, starting as a hairdresser, just like everyone else, going to beauty school, getting in trouble, but getting the right mentors in your life to guide you in the right direction. And that's what was really important, is having the great mentors. And I've had the opportunity, not because I had money, because I had a credit card, but to travel all over the world and work in different countries with different great hair designers such as Vidal Sassoon, Jacques Desage, Jean-Michel, L'Oreal, Wella, because I was always interested in the technical part of things until I realized that it has much more to do, this industry, than technical skills. It has a lot to do with attitude, and knowledge and experience and humbleness. So we can go on forever. Some of the great things I do outside is a lot of philanthropic work, and we can go on with that list forever, of what we do to help our communities, because it's always good to give. People say give back, but I rather just give. I don't have to receive to give. So I also volunteer with the Sheriff's Department on their advisory board, and on their, how do you say, human trafficking, their administrative board as well. I'm involved with a great faith-based organization, which is desperately needed in this time. I think a lot of people have lost their faith because they've been living in fear for so long. So I love going out there and really reinstilling by volunteering in not only our country, but different countries, and helping them reestablish, hope, attitude, faith, commitment, responsibility. We've got the Lifetime Achievement Award. Yes, we got an award for our community stuff, but I guess the biggest reward is watching other people transform and being able to influence them to help them make that transformation.
I love that so much. And I love the fact that you are now a John Maxwell coach as well. And just watching that transformation has just been so rewarding to me too, Giulio, and just watching you from a distance, because you've been one of my biggest mentors and coaches in this industry, and very, very extremely helpful to us on next level salon leadership. You said something really profound earlier, because Sean and I, we have a 6-month course to help people either start or scale their salon business. And one of the months we usually spend on attitude, but I could honestly probably spend a whole year on fixing your attitude as a business owner. And I'm really watching a lot of platforms right now of salon owners that are really mad. And I'm like, oh man, they need this course. And so kind of talk about attitude, because it's much more about attitude than it is about technical. How can a salon owner right now fix their attitude, and why do they need to do that?
Well, we have to remember, as leaders or salon owners, that people do what they see. It's no different than a parent, right? Sometimes you get surprised and look at your child and say, where did you learn that, Johnny? It's like, from you were on the phone swearing away, so I learned all those great words. So people do what they see, and it all starts from the top. If the top doesn't have a great attitude, how can it trickle down? And yes, there is a lot of frustration. You're right, Tina, and I hear it from salon owners all the time. Frustration. And since COVID hit, our world has always been changing, but COVID really put a big change in how we react, how we see things. It's caused different emotions, and one of them is fear and anger.
Yeah.
And in that at Emotion, we lost a great attitude. I myself included have gone through that transformation of attitude, because I had a great one, and then for a while I was mad at everybody. One of the things I have to say towards attitude that's helped me is every time the phone rang, I used to get anxiety because I knew it would be bad news. Something challenging is happening. And it would trickle right down because my attitude to the person I was speaking to would trickle down to the next person, and it just became horrible. So now I had to change that. And when the phone rings, I have to change my attitude. This is not a disaster call, it's an opportunity.
Mm.
So if I look at it as an opportunity to help someone else, then I'll have a better attitude in it. And as salon owners, we need to see that our potential people that are coming in have been through this challenge that we've all been through. And some of them are a reflection of other people's attitudes. And they just need a mentor with a great smile on their face, with a hope, with faith, and knowing that things are going to change for the better because you get what you focus on, right? If you automatically hire somebody and think to yourself, well, they're not going to make it, they're not going to last long, they're probably just going to walk on me. Well, what you focus is what you get.
Yeah.
Rather than, hey, I've got a possible 10 here who I can mentor, lead to the next place, and do it with faith. And hey, if they happen to walk out, that's okay. There's someone else that's going to come along that you can invest in with that same attitude, and you're gonna find the right person, but it takes the right attitude. And there's one thing I tell people, there's 3 reasons why I'll hire you. Number 1 is attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Get the technical skills. Number 2 is attitude. Forget anything else. And then I say, what do you think number 3 is? And the ones that yell out attitude, I said, you got the job.
Yeah.
Because those are so important. You can't be mean in these times. You have to be. So we need to start seeing people with smiles and hope and faith.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up because, I've been coaching some of our graduates and they're really frustrated because they're not getting the job that they want. They're trying to, work for salon owners that they want to work for, and they're not getting it. And I think it goes right back to this, like, what is your attitude like on social media? First and foremost, because right now social media has been like this platform to air all of your differences and frustrations. And I'm telling you, people are watching this. And so whatever you put out there is really who you are, is what people see you, as you are. And so can you kind of talk about social media for a moment as well, too? Let's speak to all of those graduates out there and people trying to get the job of their dreams or the business of their dreams.
Well, the first thing companies do look at, or people hiring you, or if you're opening a company or a salon or whatever, people are going to check your social media out. They want to know who they're dealing with. They want to know who they're investing in, who they want to create a relationship with. And I know some of us look great in a bathing suit or a bikini, but what message are we sending? Are we selling our bathing suit, our body, or our skills? I mean, there's different pages that you can have for different things. Are you selling your political views, which there are going to be people who agree and people who don't? Are your religious views or whatever it is? Or are you selling your profession? Are you selling what you do? And it's important that I tell people, revisit your social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we all have a voice. There's a place and a time for our voice and to use that platform. But we have to, separate where and when we use that voice. For instance, if my page is strictly to get clients and understand that I am here to serve them, what is my page going to do? If you look at my social media, it has nothing but great pictures and great motivational, educational, sayings on there. It has beauty tips. It has positive attitude. So people know that this is the person I want to align myself with, because there are some people who do this, but most people don't wake up and say, I am going to look for the most negative person today on Instagram or in person, and I want to hang with them and be just like them, hated and people mad at and argued. No, most of us are getting tired of that. So take a moment before you post anything and let the ink dry.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, before you hit send, wait a while and then read it again and say, is this the message I really want to send out about who I am and what my true belief is and the relationship I want to have with you? Or do I send this out and alienate so many that I don't have a chance to recover because I'm now in an argument with you rather than, attracting you for what you need?
So good.
You mentioned quite a few times about change. And being that you're a multi-business owner and we went through some massive changes, what are some things and how did you handle it? Like turn yourself around, because you said that you got in that space. I think we all got in that space, but I think throughout that, like Tina said, as a mentor and someone in the Paul Mitchell world that we leaned into and looked to during this, like you kept your head strong, whether you were dealing with it internally or not. So how did you come on the other side of that?
That's good. Great question. Because when 2020 hit, I think we all were just numb. We were just frozen in time and we're like, what is this? What's happening? And the fear got really great. And it got greater as we stuck on to the TV and the news and the political divide and the religious divide and everything was just a disaster. You thought Armageddon was coming, At one point I got sucked into it. I got depressed. I was like, what are we doing? Everything's ending. This is genocide. I mean, what you read even on social media starts to affect your mind. Where then I just said, wait a minute, stop, turn that off. You can either be part of the problem or you can be part of the solution. I wanted to be part of the solution. I wanted to know how to prepare for what's going to come next for our reopening. So I got involved with, getting educated on crisis management, getting involved with John Hopkins to learn more about what is COVID, how can we prevent COVID, how can we reopen safely. So when your mind shifts, you'll think, and your thoughts shift, you'll think of better opportunities. Now, obviously, it does come with some, anger in between that, but you gotta shift your thinking and tell yourself, stop, don't go there. There's an opportunity here. Everything has an opportunity. And some people saw COVID as a way to put themselves in a mental jail, live in fear, hide in closet. Some people saw business opportunities. They were like, wait a minute, I can open a kiosk and sell masks. Wow. What a solution. I can sell hand sanitizer. There's things that they took advantage of in a good thing to help others, rather than putting them in a spot and saying, I can't even help myself. How am I going to help others? So when a challenge does come up, you have to change the mindset to this is an opportunity, not a problem.
So good. I love that. And the minute it hit, same thing with me, is for about 3 days, I was numb and, like you said, got sucked into it. And I'm like, wait a minute, Tina, with crisis comes opportunity. And it actually took me having to look at one of my quotes, which was, with crisis comes opportunity. It's like, come on, you're part of the solution, not the problem. Let's jump into this. And, one of the first month that Sean and I, when we do this course, it's called Fixing Your Foundation. And so kind of going back, and you talked a little bit about increasing your faith. I love that you said increasing your education. Those are the two areas that I focused on the most during this time, and actually learned so many brand new things that I could do to implement in my companies. And it's kind of set forward in motion, Giulio, and I'm sure it has for you, of what can I shift for my team to be able to help them. So can you talk a little bit about, because with crisis, it reveals where our foundation really is. And so talk a little bit about that, because we're entering into a climate of challenges, financial challenges. Inflation is at an all-time high. We've got, probably a recession coming, which is probably already hitting,
It's already here.
It probably is already here. I'm like, oh yeah, I think it is, looking at gas prices, and it's like $110 to fill up my gas tank. And I was like, whoa, when did this happen? So talk about that, and what do people need to do, especially salon owners and leaders right now? What recommendation do you give them?
Well, some of the young baby boomers and and so on, even Generation X, you know, we've lived through many crises. I remember in the 80s, when Reagan was in, it wasn't his fault. I mean, each of them inherit something. But I remember, you know, interest rates were 17%.
Right.
17. I remember when Carter was in and gas lines ran for miles. I remember when the swine flu came out, H1N1, AIDS. I mean, all these people forgot about all these different things that have come into our life. But this is where we have to, if we can weather the storm, we can weather anything. And this is the time to step up and say, okay, this is a temporary storm passing by. But everything, if you look at history, it goes in a big circle. It just repeats itself. And what have you learned from the past, or what have you learned through history that has helped people get through these crises? And the one thing that didn't help was becoming the victim. Some people love to be the victim, and because they get a lot of attention. I don't want to be the victim. Yes, gas prices are gone up. How do I become a little bit wiser with that? Yes, inflation has gone up. How do I become a little bit more conservative with my electrical bill, with my gas bill, with my food bill? Because we waste a lot of food. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, we tend to overcook, and so we just have to understand to sit down and look at our budget and say, hey, this is maybe where we have to scale back a little bit, or maybe we have to get a little bit. What I found in the beauty industry is no matter the recession, no matter what is going on with prices, people will not give up their hair, their color, their makeup. You know, they want to still look great. Even the pandemic, people that shut us down were sneaking in to get their hair done. You know, so think about that. There's one thing people won't give up. And I've seen this through our last recession, even in 2008 when the market crashed. And everybody was in a big worry about that. But when I stood in lines at the Geek Squad and stuff or whatever, people would talk about it, but there was one thing they would say, oh, I have a hair appointment coming up, but I don't care. I'm making it. You know, I'm getting my hair done. I mean, it's so funny how, you know, we will worry about certain things and we won't worry about other things as a whole. So learn how to take what is happening and try to make the best of it. If you notice that the recession is hitting, people are paying high prices, well, maybe you can either stick with your prices and stick with your agenda, or you can say, you know what, let me help you all out a little bit for the next month or so. Here's what we're going to do with our prices and our value so that we can still live, but you can live just as well. So once again, it's sitting back and just finding solutions rather than, you know, focusing on a problem. If we sit here and worry about the recession, we will not do anything but worry. Some people don't even go to work and they're worried about how they're going to make their next paycheck. And they're worried about the recession and they're not even pulling in a paycheck, or they quit their job because they quit life. And now they're worried about how are they going to pay their bills. Sometimes we just need to sit back and think this out and say, how, matter of fact, not how, but I will survive this. I will make this work for me, so that when times get good and I've survived the bad times, the good times will be fantastic.
Yeah, I love that so much. And, you know, I think when you're saying, you know, increase your capacity to have solutions, that comes with more education and listening to podcasts, reading books. I mean, you never know. I mean, I read a lot of books outside of the beauty industry, obviously, because we're really studying leadership and business and really getting into that. And it's amazing. All of a sudden, just even one word or a phrase or a paragraph can shift your whole perspective of a solution. It's the answer. The key is educating yourself and getting involved with things like this, you know, getting involved with GIULIO. GIULIO, before Sean continues on in the questioning here, what's the best way to get a hold of you so that people can follow you? What do you recommend? Is it your Instagram, Facebook? What's the best way to contact you?
Instagram seems to be the most popular one, which is just GIULIO, which is my name. And don't ask me what the rest
Spell
is.
your name. Spell your name. That's where everybody challenges. I notice people call you Julio too.
Yeah, well, it starts with a G because in Italy we don't have J's. So it's G and then V as in Victor, EGLIO.
Love it.
And yeah, they can, reach out anytime they like and, ask any questions. And I love, Tina, that you say education. In my age, I still feel, and I'm 60 years old, but, education is never ending for me. At one time I wanted to give up because I felt like I didn't know enough. And I had a friend say to me, that's a good feeling, because when you don't know, you want to know more.
Mhm.
Which means you're going to keep growing. Once you think you know it all, you're done.
Yeah.
And there's things I've forgotten. And I love when people say to me, I've forgotten more than you know. Well, that's the problem. You've forgotten, go back and reread it. Reading
Right.
inspirational, educational books will inspire great thoughts, great attitudes, and that's what I look for. I even turn to a lot of faith-based in the morning. I start my morning out now. I should go to church, but I start my morning out with a devotional and a prayer to set my day straight. I'll set out with a minute of motivation, and then in between my work, I'll open up something that inspires me, that helps people and helps myself in leadership, attitude, equipping people, or even relationships, which are really important. And then I pass them on to others. So what I learn, I don't keep. I pass it on to others. And that's where others start to transform and understand that they also too need to keep continuing to learn. Yeah, so I love that you said that.
You just talked about you pass it on to others. And one of the months in our course, we actually talk about communication. So talk about the power of effective communication, because I think a lot of us think we communicate. However, that sometimes it's just a lot of talk.
Well, communication, people say, I have an open door policy, but they don't have an open ear policy. You can come in and talk all you want, but they're thinking of other things rather than listening and being connected and being in the moment, and repeating what somebody said to you really helps them feel like they've been understood and heard. And that's where you start to connect and create great relationships. Even when I ran my salon, my biggest thing is I can't do everything behind the chair by myself. I can only take on so many clients. I can only do so many clients, but by having a team, we can do so much more together. So I would be the example first. So number one is I do it, and then number two, I do it with you. So then I train you and I show you the steps, because a lot of people even think kids coming out of school should know everything. No, they know a good foundation, but we need to be their mentors and their coaches to take them to that next level. So I'm going to work side by side with you. And then I'm going to have you do the work while I stand with you. So that if you're about to make a discovery, I can ask you questions. I can help guide you. I'm equipping you. And then when you're at that level, I trust you can do it on your own, and I let you go and I let you do it. And then the next step is it goes into a big circle. Then they train someone else and give it away, because when they train somebody else, not only are they giving it away, but they're also learning by speaking it. And then that person gets trained to take their spot, so that trainer can move on to a better opportunity, because most people guard their position, right? So instead of communicating with somebody and training them to be better than they were so they can move up the ladder or move into another position is the key, or else you're going to be stuck there forever. So when you give it to someone else, then they give it to someone else, then they give it to someone else, and people have an opportunity to grow. But like you said, communication, asking questions, drawing out, not just putting in. Like right now, I'm doing a lot of talking, because we're not in front of an audience and you're getting some feedback. But normally I would ask, as I speak, I would ask questions to see if you understood and how I can help you understand better. So even though I'm communicating with you, then I say, hey, tell me what you think you heard. And then we can go on from there, so that we know we're sending the right message in their understanding. But we expect and I did this in the beginning when I owned a salon. I expected people just to know, just to go out and learn, just to understand, why can't you cut that? Why can't you color that? What don't you understand? It's common sense. Well, common sense isn't common anymore. And we have to take the time to say, okay, what did you learn from that? The color didn't come out the way you wanted, but that does not what makes a great colorist. A great colorist is one who can fix what didn't come out right the first time, or a haircut. But you got to learn from that discovery. And as a good coach, you want to ask questions. So how do you think you got that result? What do you think you can avoid to get that result? And how did you have to fix it and let them talk it out so that this way, the one who does the work does the learning?
Mhm. I love when you're talking about how do you lead and go side by side. I think sometimes leaders just move too fast and they're up the very top of the hill and they look down and like, where did they go? Where did they go? And they're still at the bottom of the hill because they're moving too fast. And I think one of the things that we're learning in our salon companies, Giulio, and I'd love to get your take on this, is we're noticing that instead of taking someone that's 6-7 years in to coach a brand new person, we're actually realizing that why don't we take the one who was just trained and like you were saying earlier, let them train. And I think we want to shift some of our systems in that sense of educating so that we can have the next level mentor train the next person coming in, right? Obviously inspecting and making sure that it's properly taught, making sure the systems are written down, because that's part of our foundation training in our salons to help someone start a business or to scale their business. Is it written down? You and I talk about this all the time. We're so blessed to be Paul Mitchell school owners because we've learned from the best, from Win Clay Bob systems. And so, but a lot of salons don't have written systems, or if they do, they're kind of collecting dust and they're not revamping them and thinking, okay, this isn't working, so let's go back and let's make some shifts and changes, which we do all the time in the Paul Mitchell school world. And so we do as well in our salons, Sean and I, with our salons that are growing. What's your opinion on this, and what advice do you give when it comes to next level mentoring and coaching and things like that?
Well, I love a few things that you said. Number one is most people have a system, but it's in their head.
Yeah.
It's not written down.
Right.
And they'll change that system or that culture because they feel like wearing jeans today. Everybody now can wear jeans.
Exactly.
There's a hole in my jean. Now everybody can wear holes in your jeans. And then it gets carried away and then they say, okay, no more jeans. So things are, even though they have to change in a sense, they can't change spontaneously. You have to have a core value, the law in place. Then you can add to that. You have to have a good system and culture that is sustainable by the law of the salon or the law of your culture. And then you're going to tweak with time as time evolution happens and changes. Yes, you're going to have to make some minor tweaks, but it's something that you work slowly with people to do. But I love the fact that you also said, take the person you just trained and have them train. Who better to tell us a hair strand than a student coming out of school? Because you and I know that years out of school, we forget that there's a cortex, a medulla, the basics, we're like, well, what are you talking about medulla? I forgot all about that stuff. So you take somebody who freshly knows that stuff and can freshly deliver it with enthusiasm to someone else, being overseen by the creative master, who oversees them, that is guiding. What you remember that thing where I said, I'm with you, you do it, but I'm with you. And then that's the same thing with that person that you said has freshly been trained and knows it. And if they don't use it and they don't get to share it, they're going to forget too. So by sharing it and using that new person, they have that freshness in them. Think of those bands that have to, in the 70s that today are still alive somehow. And they're singing, the same song. I mean, they're not enthusiastic as they were the first time singing that song. They were all over the stage. Now they're in their 70s going, really, I can't wait to get through Celebration here from Pixies, because I've sang this song 100 times. It's no celebration for me. But the person hearing it for the first time is going to be like, wow, what a song, what a celebration. This has got energy in it. So they're going to have more energy than the person who's been doing it for many years,
Mm.
even though that person still has a passion. You know, that newness also brings a higher passion. So I love that you said that.
So good.
Speaking of passions, I wanted to, as we kind of wrap up, talk about your two books.
You know, it's funny, they were my first two books and they probably need some updating and reevaluation, but they still relate to a lot of today. Even when we watch old movies, it's like, oh my God, that same thing's happening today. Just
Exactly.
yeah, it's like they were still protesting, there was still this, there was still that. But the two books I wrote one was a memoir about my discoveries in life, my insecurities, my failures, my stumbles, but how I've overcome them to bring me to the place I am today. And it's not like they're totally fixed. That, you know, we're always going to face some kind of challenge or trip. But you know, now when I trip and fall, I'll sit there for a second and say, what caused me to trip, and how can I fix that? Where before I quickly get up and try to make the change, you know, because I was embarrassed. But the book speaks about that and the values that I've learned through life. Unwrapping Your Gift is a lot of things that we all do, such as procrastination, you know, which is a big stress causer for all of us and creates a lot of anxiety. How can we overcome procrastination? Looking at ourselves and admiring ourselves for who we are in a confident way, not a cocky way. Believing more in us and loving more of ourselves so that we can love others and spread that around. So those are the quick 2 pages with some, you know, call to action in those books that I've written. And I've got so many more ideas of books, but I'm dyslexic, so I have to record them. Then I have to have somebody scribe them. Then I'll go over them. And, you know, books are not done overnight. It takes years. And then you have to remodify them. But for today's times, you know, because we, you know, since I wrote that, you know, technology's gotten, you know, greater, which I think sometimes can be our greatest downfall. It's a great asset, but it also can be one of the things that destroys our communication skills. So there's some changes that will have to be made, but I just enjoyed writing them first and foremost for me as a reminder of what it takes, and then sharing it with others. And if there's only one thing in that book that helps you, then I've met my goal.
Yeah, they're incredible books, and both books actually, by the way, I read while I was on an airplane flight, and it just like made the flight go by so fast. And I love your writing. It sounds just like you. Your book coaches obviously do a great job, and you can tell that you scribed it. And, you know, something that we kind of talked about as we start to wrap this interview up, and by the way, thank you for doing this. And, you know, I want to talk about leadership because you know, Sean and I, we talk a lot about foundation, and then we jump into leadership because we know that everything rises and falls on leadership. And you said something really powerful. You wrote your books, and I think every leader has to write a book. I truly believe that, because I believe you need to share, each person needs to share their story, and their staff and their team needs to hear their story, because as a leader, in order to connect, we have to be authentic and transparent. And if they think that you think, because they know that you aren't, have it all together, they're not going to connect with you, and you've lost them as people. So because you are the greatest influencer, and I believe because you're a great connector, and I believe it's because you are so transparent, Giulio, and this is why you own 1 million schools, which I don't even know how many now, so I just say 1 million, right? And you have salons. And so let's talk about that as a leader, how important it is to connect with your team, and how do you do that?
Well, a leader has to be humble, has to be vulnerable, and has to be open, has to have integrity, excuse me. People need to trust you. And how do you get them to trust you? Because as a leader, we just want to tell people how much we know, but we never express how much we care. And it's important to show how much we care. And that's what people want first before they want to know how much you know. And once they know you care, then they'll accept the rest. But as a leader too, I never said this is for money. This is for my own selfish reasons. I did it because as a leader, it was my job to influence and lead others to the finish line, not to make it there myself. Yes, I might be a step ahead of them because I need to make sure the path is clear, but I'll wait to cross that finish line with them.
Mhm.
And then we can start the next race and get to the next finish line. And then you can have somebody that's led with you, lead them to the next finish line so that you can all cross together. So as leaders, we don't have to be perfect. We just have to communicate and be humble and be vulnerable and let them know that, no, I wasn't perfect. Here's where you need to be relatable. They need to know that you make mistakes too. And
Yeah.
but this is what you've learned from that. Most people want to be looked at as, I made no mistake. I made the I. They don't care about the I. What is in it with we? You know, what can we do together to avoid some of the things that you did so that we can have the same luxury or the same experience that you're having of success? Because that's our job as leaders, is not to be the only one who is successful, but to make sure everyone around us has that same quality of life.
Yeah, so
I,
good.
I love that. What a perfect way to bring us to a close today. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Any final words, something that's pressing on your heart that you wanna share today?
Yeah, actually, lately it's just, not lately, but enjoy the moment.
Mm.
You know, everybody's so worried about yesterday and so scared for tomorrow that we forget to be in the now, you know. And what's really pressing on my heart is I'm ready for tomorrow. If some reason the good Lord should say my time is done, I'm ready. I'm happy. I'm okay. But in the moments that he gives me to be in the now with you, with Tina, with anybody that's on this, meeting with us today, I'm with you in the moment and enjoying it. And I hope to hear from you and hear some of your experiences and knowledge and wisdom. But like I said, when you're with each other, when you're with your family, whatever it is that you're doing, be in the now, because tomorrow's promised to no one. So enjoy the moment. And should the Armageddon come tomorrow, you enjoy the moment.
Amazing. We love you, Giulio. Thank you for being on today.
We love you too. And all of you,
Thank you.
God bless you and have a great day.
God bless you too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.